I had planned to stand and read the Cornell's whys and wherefores of solar on your property. But it doesn't really good because you've got people who are saying, it's my property, I'll do what I want with it. Well, that's not necessarily so in any county, any town. Your town board, your planning board, and your ZBA tells you what you can do with your property. So basically, this law should at least cover, if not your rights, it should cover your neighbor's rights.
Yeah.
So basically, that's what I think we're looking for.
As far as I know, if somebody does want to wade through the rainforest of information that you're going to have to do to get to locate one of these, there's a whole lot of paperwork and stuff that's going to have to be done after that.
Mm-hmm.
And who's going to do it here, we're not sure yet. I would assume that if somebody makes an application, they would go to your office. And you would refer them to us, we would refer them to the planning board, then they come back to us. If we refuse, then they could go to the ZBA. I'm just, that's how I got it kind of figured out. I don't know what you're going to be involved whether you like it or not, you know?
Well, this has to do with the special use permit in the office, don't handle special use permits.
No, but if somebody comes in the door, you and Gene are going to be the only ones here that are going to be able to field an application. Even if you don't do anything about it, you could officially accept it and then forward it on.
Okay.
Could somebody explain just what a special use permit is and how it's policed?
Well, theoretically, we can't do spot zoning, but a special use permit, by some other words, it's spot zoning, basically. In the beginning, a special use permit did not stay with the property, but somewhere along the line, the law was changed. You get a special use permit on your property to do something, you sell your property, somebody else comes in, they can continue on. They would probably have to reapply.
But who polices it? We have a wonderful big business down there north of me. It started out with a very small building, and now we have 51, 52, 53 tanks
Yeah.
of God only knows what. So who's going to tell us that what they're going to be doing with these solar arrays? And
Well, that's the same. Nobody from that organization ever applies on a yearly basis, do they?
Well,
Because it's an ag business, it's all higher than us.
my understanding was that Egg and Market did not look at it as a big egg business. So that's what we do something big business. Anything else that you can say?
Well, I was told by, I can't remember his name. Do you remember the guy's name who was head of Ag and Markets? Told me that it was not an ag business.
All right, well, then we must have a file on their business, what,
Trust me, you do, but it's about the egg.
well, it
But
would
what, for everything that was put, everything that was done to their business, was that watched by the CEOs to make sure that they were doing it according to Hoyle? I don't think so. So when you get these arrays in, all of a sudden they're going to be doing something else, and if they're on the special use permit, what responsibility do you have, or to our CEOs?
Well, calls it out for, they have to have inspections, make sure there isn't anything loose, make sure there isn't anything broken. You know, you made a good point, the
shards,
yeah,
the shards from the solar.
so that, and the way the law reads, it's a, town board or its designee.
which will be the CEOC. Do they have to report any of those problems back to the board, or the planning board, or ZBA?
I don't think it addresses that anymore.
Setbacks, escrow. Property road.
Probably the first thing that will happen here will, if we adopt this tonight, then the next thing we'll do will be an amendment. Dealing with how you deal with it.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, section 9.2 is environmental monitoring.
Okay,
This is page 16. And actually, it puts the onus on the applicant, owner, operator to list what they're using for chemicals. The onus is on them to do field studies. And we have, hang on.
So this is your question. I'm thinking about your question. Is it what's going to stop them from expanding it?
That's the question.
So
That is the question. If
But
if you're going to allow a certain size being put up, okay, if they want to expand it, do they have to come to the town to do it, or do they just,
I believe, and I
They have
could
to
be-
come to the town.
but I believe the application is for a certain kilowatt or megawatt system. So if they were going to expand that, I believe they have to reapply and apply for a new special use permit. Am I correct?
I would say if you're gonna, it'd be just like any building. If you wanna build a building, you come, you get a permit to build a building, and then if you wanna expand it, you come back and
Right.
get another permit to expand it. And as I see it, this would be no different.
Okay, 8.2, throughout the permit process, the applicant, owner, operator shall promptly notify the town board of any changes to the information contained in the permit application, changes that do not materially alter the initial site plan may be administratively accepted. And they're supposed to provide 5 paper copies. So they're held to what they submit for. And then in answer to your other question, the one I was looking for was the maintenance plan. That's on page 10, 827. The applicant, owner, operator shall detail storm, another severe event follow-up, and other actions to be taken to keep the SEF operating quietly, efficiently, and not polluting land, water, air. Steps should be taken to ensure proper operation of inverters, inverter filters, associated electrical equipment. This should include checks for electrical pollution. The applicant, owner, operator shall conduct preventive maintenance inspections every 6 months or after any wind event defined as severe wind, which would be wind over 40 miles per hour for 1 hour, or wind gust over 48 miles per hour or greater. So that was all the changes that was suggested. And the wind event were put in. So, to answer what they do, they get a permit for a site plan. If they change it, then they have to get a new permit. They have to follow a maintenance plan, they have to follow a preventive maintenance plan, they have to adhere to a site plan, and then they have to adhere to a decommissioning plan. So that's kind of the essence of the law.
You don't see any problems with, maybe because we might, if we have any in the town of Stafford, would we have to increase our CEO to make sure that things are done right?
There's a good question. If we get faced by one the size, say, that Byron has, that would be a natural question.
It's a state regulated thing, Town Byron has nothing to do with it.
Nothing at all. Not even to upkeep or maintenance.
Section 10, no.
Right. They do tax them though.
They do.
I hope they're bright enough not to go along with the giveaway programs that they want.
As far as managing this, right at the present time, we have no staff to manage it. We're gonna have to create some kind of department or someone to do it. The town of Batavia, they have their building department, I understand, handles all of this.
Well, we're gonna have to do what we normally do, is depend on our engineering firm. It's cheaper than starting a whole new department.
Well, this is true, if they'll do it, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there's at least one engineering firm somewhere that'll be happy to do it.
Who's engineering that part of the,
Let's see, we've got, what, Clark Patterson, is our main one?
That's what we
does our planning board person, chairperson work for that outfit?
No.
No.
Okay.
Or that probably would have come up years ago, because both of them have been here forever.
Yeah, he's Larson.
Hmm.
There it is.
Doesn't the town of Batavia have two full-time engineers anyway?
They very well could, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they do.
The highway superintendent was one of the engineers, but then he took the job because they already had two others, so there.
Has any of the town board, ZBA, or planning board members talked to town of Batavia for whether or not they have any kind of problems?
Well,
Are they up and running yet?
as far as I know, they are. I asked Heidi Library, how do you people handle this up here? And she said, that building department, that was the end of the conversation. She didn't elaborate as to who did what, but I was curious, because after reading this and reading it, there's a whole lot of stuff that we're gonna have to handle here somehow. Like Ron says, hopefully it'll work like a water district, that the engineer, if we hire someone to manage this, somewhere along the line, the management costs are gonna have to go into whoever makes an application. I don't think the town of Stafford should go on the hook for management costs at all, depending on what we get out of it. I mean, if we break even, fine, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to make money on it.
I don't think the people understand what these solar businesses are. My letter tells me what I'm going to do, and, it tells me what I'm going to do.
No, I don't think most people. I mean, the study that we did, and some people have said, well, it's pretty negative, and it is. I mean, we've all been subjected to the Kool-Aid that Governor Cuomo and the Green New Deal and the AOC people that are gonna tell us how great everything is, but there is another side to that story. And we have the other side to it. And most of it is negative, but it's not just a bunch of words, it's fact.
But don't forget, our law only slows you down. If you really want one of these, you can get this, you can get your zoning changed. You can get one in here. It doesn't stop anything cold. It
Right.
simply tries to funnel them to certain spots and gives us, what would you call it, approval, at least for the zoning. But even then, we could be sued. So,
And I mean, we have zoning law, and, that would probably, there would be sections of it in there that will weigh in and have relevance to an application.
but yeah, our town attorney, when we sent the law, says, why are you going through all this? Why don't you just ban them? Well, because that's not,
You can't do that.
Then you'd be sued.
There you go. But make sure that if you're gonna deal with these corporations, you better know your business, and your attorney better know your business, because they have the deeper pockets.
Sure they do.
Okay. So I have a couple of pages. Based on the needs of all the citizens of Stafford, as set out in the comprehensive plan, this solar law covers protections for safety, health, and economic welfare for the majority of persons in the town, and not just a few. You've tweaked this law and covered the salient points of most concerns of the Solar Study Committee, and followed the committee findings. You've discussed where solar could be sited in our town. You've set out the need for an economic impact study as they approach. You've set out a maintenance plan, a decommission plan, a materials report, planning board input guidelines, setbacks, fencing, escrow accounts and amounts. The one I like a lot is the real property value protection for neighbors, liability insurance fees, application standards, constructions related to damage, environmental monitoring, physical responsibility assignment, legal transfer and sale, and responsibility if a company flips and goes to an LLC, another LLC. Now, just to recap, these solar installations are largely financed through taxpayer subsidies. For an example, in Germany was the leader in Europe to start solar, so it's around 12 years old, and it's fizzling. And in a 20-year period, and the electricity in Germany at this time is 3 times the amount of that in the United States. Economically, solar can't even pay for itself in a 20-year period, let alone make a profit above 35 degrees north, which is about South Carolina. Solar is unreliable. It can't stand alone, and it must have constant backup from all of the generation facilities that we have at this time. North Carolina has lost 25,000 ag-related jobs in the last 4 to 5 years. This does not create jobs. Even part-time jobs are, basically part-time jobs are what are being created. Dr. Ron Henninger of the UNC State Ag Department says that land will be dead for at least 100 years or more after a solar array has been on it for 20 to 25 years. Decommissioning is a huge issue with the turnover, I think I mentioned that, of contracts. So who is going to end up paying after the contracts have flipped to the newest LLC and possibly have something left out of them for the town or the owner to have to pick up? As I said a couple weeks ago, fire safety is an issue. We do not have line capacity for this intermittent electrical production. We would have to have new lines. We can't overload the lines, even though they're not producing that much. It's a real problem to be surging, and interrupting that surging. And in the Buffalo-Rochester area, I just got these statistics off the computer this afternoon. We have the lowest sunshine record of all the cities in the United States. It's really quite amazing, and you ought to look it up for yourself because it's shocking to see how few days per month we have of actual clear days, saying nothing about sunshine. And for all these reasons, I encourage you to pass this law that protects Stafford residents from the nonsensical travesty that this solar industry is trying to perpetrate on our citizens. Thank you. Please, somebody else say something.
All factual stuff.
Thank you.
We need to
I
have
think
those.
one of our considerations here, we're talking about remediation. And that's a real deal, that will come to play, there is a light. And we're looking at from 15 to 20 years, or somewhere in that line, where these things will probably have served their life. I want you to consider 15 years, okay? In 15 years, do you think there's going to be a young engineer from MIT that's going to come up with a better idea? If you look at the Science Digest, they've got a couple of things in the pan that they're going to be obsolete in the next 3 years. And we're going to be remediating very much quicker than what their life is. I wish you would consider that. Because it's going to be costly to get that back to where it was. It's just a thought, and you know.
Anyone else have any comments? Pro, con, yes, no? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
On page 3, it says the town of Stafford will hire an independent expert. Does that take the liability off of them and put it on us as a town? And also in 826, which deals with the economic impact study.
What page is that on?
Page 9. Something to think about is.
That would likely be our engineering firms. That's who we've used in the past.
And they're
Right, but
insured.
I'm saying, in other solar laws, the solar companies have hired these experts, and they've taken on the responsibility and the liability of it. By us doing it as a town, does it put the liability on us? Is that something we've looked into?
It's absurd, isn't it?
It is.
We are responsible.
But by us hiring someone, we're taking responsibility for it.
We should,
Okay?
shouldn't we?
Mhm.
It's our town. And we've got people in Florida gonna make a decision for us, even if it's on an engineering basis. It's
It's not
absurd.
engineering, it's liability. We're talking liability.
It sure is. And we should accept that liability.
Okay, with this, the economic impact study, the town of Stafford will hire independent experts paid for from the escrow account, parentheses, both sides, who will do a thorough, realistic assessment of the SEF's net economic impact on the community. This will include possible tourism impact, property values, cost to community, health effects, higher cost of electricity, etc. This will be compared to any guaranteed income from the SDF. So it basically says that we'll ask for an independent assessment of the impact. But they have to pay for it.
The other thing I wanted to mention is if this law does go into effect, as the town board thought about people coming in to rezone their property, and how much effect that will take.
Yes.
Yeah. Right now, there's only one area, two areas actually, where you can vote.
Correct.
However, like you say, if someone else comes in, they'll have to make an application either to the town board or to you. It'll go to the planning board, back to the town board. Let's assume if we refuse, then they can go to the ZBA, and the ZBA will have the final say. That's how I look at it.
But they still have to follow the guidelines of
Yeah.
the setbacks and everything, so.
We've had a couple instances just in the past year where we changed zoning to commercial on some properties on 5. It's all the same process.
Public hearings.
Yeah. You put it out in Timbuktu, you'll have a public hearing and nobody will probably show up for it. You surround a guy's house with it, I guarantee you, people will be here. So, it just, when we wrote this up, we took what the study committee had, looked for examples that followed what you guys came up with and tried to mirror what the findings were. We've gone through how many? 1, 2, 3 different technologies looking to come in, and we've handled them all through a study committee. So,
What did the town attorney say about this version? Anything? Any yes or no, yea or nay, or what other things you might look that I should be looking at?
Town attorney's been kind of silent on a lot of this stuff.
Well, there's a problem. If you don't get an attorney, my point is if I wanted to put one on my property, I would be darn sure to go see an attorney who knows the business so that he knows what I could be getting myself into. Exactly what Cornell University says you can get yourself into. Big problem.
That's the landowner's responsibility, not the
Yes.
town.
I don't know. Does the town have any responsibility?
Well, we can't
You
tell
got to
you,
be pockets.
we can't tell you what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, like you get a building permit, you go and see the zoning enforcement officers, they can't tell you, they can tell you what you, they can guide you what you can't do, but they can't tell you, well, now you gotta do this, 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 and this. They don't do that. That isn't what that's, they can help, but as far as telling somebody what they can do.
But you know how things happen.
Oh, I absolutely.
They can blame the town, don't they?
And probably will. Anything else?
Can I make a quick comment?
Yes.
About how this thing gets started. I was at a meeting here 6 weeks ago, and a couple ladies seemed to be offended by the fact that this small group of people was speaking for the town. And Ron mentioned that when Route 5 rezone some parcels. And that's when I started coming to the town board meetings, because I had a friend that was concerned about that. And, Bob, you said next big project coming through is gonna be the solar project. Well, I didn't know anything about it, so I kept attending the meetings, and you said, I think we should have a study committee because we had one for the wind, and the board agreed, and they went ahead, and you said, I know just who could be the chairperson, the thorough person. So I just, want people to realize that you were a member of the committee, and you also said we should have somebody, you had some farmers, some agriculture people, members of the planning board, and that's what you and Sandy sought out to do. And we have, like Lenny was a member, 30-year resident. My family's owned land in Stafford, Dairy Farm for 80 years. So as a result, I tried to get Mrs. Taylor from the planning board. I called her, but she didn't have time. A lot of people didn't have time. So we studied this thing for close to 2 years. We come up with the facts and figures. Sandy came up with a summary, which was presented to you people. And I can honestly say that nobody on that board has any agendas. We weren't pro or con. I know 2 members of that board, when we started, were in fact for this, thought it was wonderful. And I personally, my son, 3rd generation, runs a dairy farm right now, and for the last 3 years, he's been selling his milk for less than cost of production. So, naturally, here we come. This is big bucks allegedly. So, he said, Dad, study it, study it, study it. And that's what, I did. So I think the committee was fair. We only had Stafford's interest at heart. None of the people on that board have any great political or any ambitions or ideas. We did it with our heart, we did it sincere, and man, that lady had a study, and we put hundreds of hours in, so you see the results.
Well, nobody can say that we just kind of jammed it through.
No, you've given people opportunity to voice pro and con.
Too many of us
Yeah.
know that that's not so.
Exactly.
Like you say, there would be no reason to, because nobody,
No.
whenever there's a problem like this, you need to follow the money. And
Right.
nobody is financially involved in this,
Right.
at least to this day.
If it was good, we'd feel the other way, but we
Yeah.
sincerely feel that it would be a detriment to the town at this point. And
Yes.
I agree with Lenny too, that I'll bet you 5 to 7 years down the road, there's gonna be something better than these panels, really.
Yeah.
There is definitely something coming.
Again, don't forget, we put this law together, and we've gone through it numerous times.
Yeah.
It does not, if you're living near industrial property now, it will allow it on industrial property. A change in zoning to property that's right next to industrial property is gonna be pretty hard to oppose. So there is, this doesn't ban them.
Right. Yeah, we didn't scream it out for the vote, we did it by science and economics and just for the betterment of the community.
Anyone else? I want to add anything further with, yes.
There's no list of fees in here, what the application fee's gonna be and everything. Where are we?
The planning board was critical of us having fees in there, and we removed them or they'll be set when we set all of our other fees with the organization.
Okay. So what if we have something before between if this was voted in tonight and this is or January.
We'll simply have to set the fee. Lots of things happen through the year that are covered in the organizational meeting. We just do it as regular business.
Well, we may have to implement those fees anyway, you know. They're still on the book someplace here, so we can always refer to them if we have to. Anything else? I'm sure there's going to be lots down the road. So we'll close the public hearing at 7:04. And at this time, we'll open the regular meeting and stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, I know. I knew that was good.
We have the approval of the May 13th, 2019 meeting minutes. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mullen, second by Councilman Panic, to approve the May 13th, 2019 meeting minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Old business, I guess, is the solar law. We have someone move the question. Shall we do it, not do it? A motion, discussion?
Law will that be what number?
Well, it's June, the one that I have in front of me is June 10th.
I don't know what law number for the year.
That I don't know.
No, I'm thinking it's gonna be number 5.
5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How is it stated? The number?
5.
Number 5?
Local law number 5, 2019.
All right, I make a motion that we adopt local law number 5 for 2019, the June 10th draft of the solar law for Stafford, New York.
Second.
Any further discussion? Motion by Councilman Panic, second by Councilman Pacer, to adopt local law number 5 of 2019, roll call.
Roll call vote. Councilman James Deason,
Yes.
Councilman Robert Pacer,
Yes.
Councilman Daniel Mullen,
Yes.
Councilman Ronald Panic,
Yes.
Supervisor Robert Kamara.
Yes. 5-0. Now, we voted that in, but we need to do a seeker on this. I probably should have said, I said it, I think, at the last meeting. This has been referred to the county planning board. And response dated on 9th of May. Description, text, zoning text amendments to address solar energy uses. Location, entire town of Stafford. Zoning district, entire town. Planning board decision, approval with modifications. This is for the record. I'll give you those. And there's some instructions here.
Okay.
Now, the seeker part 1, I'm going to go through this. Name of action or project, Stafford Solar Law. Project location, town of Stafford. Brief description of proposed action, include proposed or need. Revised zoning for solar. Name of application, town of Stafford. Phone number, email, our present address. Project contact would be me, same address. Governing approvals, funding, or sponsorship. City, council, town board, yes. Identify agency and approval required, Stafford Town Board. Application date, actual or projected. This would be May 13th, or this is when I made this out, so I guess we can still go with those dates. City, town, or village planning board or commission, no. This is governing government entity. City council, town, or village board of appeals, no. Other local agencies, no. County agencies, county planning board. Regional agencies, no. State agencies, no. Federal agencies, no. Is the project site within a coastal area or waterfront area of a designated inland waterway? No. Is the project site located in a community with an approved local waterfront revitalization program? No. Is the project site within a coastal erosion hazard area? No. Planning and zoning actions. Will administrative or legislative adoption or amendment of a plan, local law, ordinance, rule, or regulation be only approval, parenthesis S, which must be granted to enable the project action to proceed? Yes. If yes, complete sections C, F, and G, which is C, do any municipalities / adopted city, town, village, or county comprehensive land use plans include the site where the proposed action will be located? That's yes. If yes, does the comprehensive plan include specific recommendations for the site where the proposed action would be located? Yes. Is the site of the proposed action within any local or regional special planning district, for example, Greenway, Brownfield Opportunity Area, BOA, designated state or federal heritage area, watershed management plan, or other? No. Is the proposed action locally, wholly, or partially within an area listed in an adopted municipal open space plan or an adopted municipal farmland protection plan? No. Zoning. Is the site of the proposed action located in a municipality with an adopted zoning law or ordinance? Yes. If yes, what is the zoning classification, including any applicable overlay district? Well, it contains all of the zoning classifications that we have in the town because it covers the whole town. Is the use permitted or allowed by a special or conditional use permit? Yes. Is the zoning change requested as part of the proposed action? Yes. What is the proposed new zoning for the site? Solar law. What is the school district? In what school district is the project located? Batavia, Leroy, Pavilion, Elba, Byron, Virgin. What police or other public protection force serves the project area? Genesee County Sheriff, New York State Police. Which fire protection or emergency medical services serve the project site? Stafford Fire Department. What parks serve the project site? Emery Park, located north of New York State or federal. There, it's local. No New York State or federal parks. And that is the last that I have filled out in here. Per our instructions, we'll vote it again. Verification, attach any additional information which may be needed to clarify your project. If you have identified any adverse impacts that could be associated with your proposal, please describe those impacts, plus any measures which you propose to avoid or minimize them. For verification, I certify the information provided is true to the best of my knowledge. The applicant responses, Town of Stafford. My signature, Robert S. Clement, dated June 10th, 2019. My title is Supervisor. Now, the second part here does not apply, but I think the third part marked, and that's fairly short, so we'll do it. Part 3, evaluation of the magnitude of importance of project impacts and determination of significance. Part 3 provides the reasons and support for the determination of significance. The lead agency must complete Part 3 for every question in Part 2 where the impact has been identified as potentially moderate to large, or where there's a need to explain why any particular element of the proposed action will not or may result in significant adverse environmental impact. Based on the analysis in Part 3, the lead agency must decide whether to require an environmental impact statement to further assess the proposed action, or whether available information is sufficient for the lead agency to conclude that the proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact. By completing the certification on the next page, the lead agency can complete its determination of significance. Reasons supporting this determination. To complete this section, identify the impact based on Part 2 responses and describe its magnitude. Magnitude considers factors such as severity, size, or extent of impact. The reason that this does not, that Part 2 doesn't apply, this is just a wall. If there was a building or something, a physical change to the town, then that would apply. But this is the way it was explained to me. Assess the importance of impact. Importance relates to the geographic scope, duration, probability of the impact occurring, number of people affected by the impact, and any additional environmental consequences if the impact were to occur. The assessment should take into consideration any design element or project changes. Repeat this project for Part 2 question where the impact has been identified as potentially moderate to large, or where there is a need to explain why a particular element of the proposed action will not or may result in a significant adverse environmental impact. Provide the reasons why the impact may or will not result in significant adverse environmental impact. For conditional negative declarations, identify the specific conditions imposed that will modify the proposed action so that no significant adverse environmental impacts will result. Attach additional sheets as needed. Upon review of the information recorded on this EAF as noted, plus this additional support information, is there anything that we should, in the opinion of the board, that we should add? And considering both the magnitude and importance of each identified potential impact, it is the conclusion of would be the Town of Stafford as lead agency A, this project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment. Let me read this again. This project will result in no significant adverse impacts to the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Accordingly, this negative declaration is issued. B, although this project could have significant adverse impact on the environment, that impact will be avoided or substantially mitigated because of the following conditions which will be required by the lead agency. Now, as the lead agency, this is just a law, it's a piece of paper. And as it was explained to me, it's not a construction project. If it were, well then it might have significant adverse impacts on the environment. But the paper itself, with the law which we enacted, is not going to affect the environment and the paper itself. Does that make any sense?
One of these,
Yeah.
one of these would be filled out for each project anyway.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, the one
Well, the way we've done it, you'll have to do a seeker on the zoning change,
Yeah,
and you'll have to do a seeker on the project.
right.
So it will get right down to the pages of detail that we see, but we didn't have to fill out on this one.
Okay.
And the way we wrote the law, it's us, it's not the planning board, it's the town board that does the seeker.
There will therefore be no significant adverse impacts from this project as conditioned, and therefore this condition negative declaration is issued. A conditional negative declaration may be used only for listed actions. See 6 NYCRR 617.d. C, this project may result in one or more significant adverse impacts on the environment, and the environmental impact statement must be prepared to further assess the impacts and possible mitigation, and to explore alternatives to avoid or reduce those impacts. Accordingly, this positive declaration is issued. Now, the name of the action here, I'll fill it out, it's the Town of Stafford zoning law. Name of lead agency, Town of Stafford. Name of responsible officer and lead agency, I guess that would be yours truly.
Yeah.
Title of responsible officer, town supervisor. Signature of responsible officer and lead agency. Signature of preparer is different from responsible officer. Let's see, this is 610. For further information, Actions on condition negative declarations, a copy of this notice is sent to would be the chief executive officer of the political subdivision in which the action will be principally located, or we can send it to ourselves again. Town, Silly Village, other agencies involved, applicant if any, well, there's no applicant so far. Environmental notice bulletin, this is page 202.
Because we were talking about the law itself,
Yeah.
in the back end of the section 1, there's a question there about changing zoning, and the answer to it was yes. Should that be a yes? We didn't change any zoning here, we only adopted a law.
Well, we did change the zoning, I mean, this is an addition.
We changed what, oh, I'm sorry, we changed what's allowable in the zone district.
But we didn't change any zoning.
No, we didn't change any
Question
zone,
asked, was
we
there
didn't
any
change
zoning?
any districts.
No.
Right, there was
We didn't
no-
change the map, we
No.
changed the law.
Right, and we're talking about law, not zoning here, right?
Right.
So, just look at the question again, and see if I don't understand it. I just want to make sure we've got an answer for it.
Is this it, Terry? Will administrative or legislation adoption or amendment of the plan, local law, ordinance, rule, or regulation be only approved, which must be granted to enable the proposed action?
No, towards the end of section 1 there, it asked about, did this change any zoning laws or any zoning? I believe that the answer to that was yes, and it might be, but I thought we were talking about a law, not changing zoning.
Well, in a way we are. This is in addition to our zoning law. So,
It is a law. We didn't change any zoning.
no, but as far as the overall zoning law is concerned, there is a change.
Just the way the question read and you said yes, it made me question it.
Is a zoning change requested as part of the proposed action?
No. I don't see it.
Is a zoning change requested as part of the law?
Or amended? Is it amended?
Is the zoning changing as part of the proposed action? If yes, what is the new proposed zoning for the site? And we have solar law, so it'd be per solar law.
See that? You're talking about a site. This is if there's a building or something that's going in, which is not.
I hope you understand my confusion on it, because when I'm sitting here and you talk about zoning and we're talking about the law, I'm not sure which way it was, so, I mean, if you guys think that's right, let's proceed.
What is your concern about if it is?
Well, I thought the question said, did we change any zoning? We did not change any zoning.
So the new proposed action is zone, the solar law is not a zoning change.
Should be no.
I think that's what Terry's trying to say.
I mean, I did this,
It's a zoning change that it allows solar farms in industrial districts. It's an open-ended question,
But
it's
it's
a
not
zoning
changing the
change
zoning.
requested.
We're allowing it in
Part of the
industrial
proposed
zones, but
action.
we're not changing the zoning for it.
No, nor is it asking
Well,
if we're changing our zones.
if the summer applies and it moves in, it's
changes the zoning right away, it becomes industrial.
If we approve it.
If we approve it, it becomes industrial.
I filled out that section, and I was doing it with the county planner, the chairman.
Right.
So I sat down with him, and we did this together, so he probably, I think we did discuss that.
Yeah, in other words, we're not changing anything now. We're, because of solar law, it would change if one went in.
It would have to change.
Automatically changes to industrial.
It would have to change first.
No. If it goes in, it automatically changes to industrial. You don't have to change it first.
No, if it's already zoned industrial, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
No. No. And,
the assessor.
If it's zoned agricultural, the way this law is written, and the way I understand it, is if it's zoned agricultural right now, and they want to put a solar farm on it, they have to get it changed to industrial.
no.
Only the portion,
That's
according
the
to
way
the
that law's
assessor,
written.
only the portion under the array.
Yes,
That's what
only
she
under
said.
the array, and that becomes automatically industrial.
And in that case, the farmer has to pay back
Right.
some tax money.
Farmer
5
will
years
pay back
back.
the tax money. So that's 5 years, right?
But getting to the question, it's C3 in the zoning part. The first question is the site of the proposed action located in a municipality with adapted zoning law or ordinance. And we say yes. Is the use permitted by special or conditional use permit? And again,
Yes.
our law uses that, so we say yes. Is a zoning change requested as part of the proposed action? The change of the law is a zoning change. So the question would be yes. I would agree with how Bob and the planner answered it. Yes, yes, and yes on
Yeah.
the three zoning questions.
But it is confusing, Terry.
Yeah.
Oh,
I see Terry's point, I agree with
Yeah.
Terry.
we're talking about two different things. We're talking about zoning and we're talking about zoning law, two different things.
Unfortunately, they make the form general where you have to,
Like a forced choice test.
Yeah.
Anything further on this? Should we send a note to Clark Patterson that if we do get applications that
Yeah.
we would like their help in administering the law?
I was wondering if there's any possibility that we could keep Terry's question just on our shoulder, and any further clarification that he could be allowed
Well,
would be helpful.
I'll go over it again with solution.
Yeah. That's the other point, Terry. When Bob filled it out, he was instructed by Felipe to do it.
I think we stumbled over that a bit when we were filling it out.
And just so you can understand why I
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
And just as a clarification, Bob, if somebody puts in an application and it's agricultural, when does it become industrial?
You have to get a special use permit.
If the special use permit is
Right.
given,
Right.
okay, where the array is, that piece of land becomes industrial.
Well, you'll have to have a zoning change.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have a
Right.
zoning
Right, that
change?
changes it.
Right, That's not what I just thought I heard you say a little while ago.
Zoning change, public hearing,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
I just wanna make sure we're not gonna,
More seeker stuff.
No,
but then
doesn't,
they'd have to pay back if it's in a
Yeah.
district or whatever, they'd have to pay back.
5 years back?
5 years.
Otherwise, it's
Yeah, but that's not anything unique. If you build a house on that.
That's right, that's absolutely right.
You're gonna have to pay back, so.
Right.
On the whole farm too, not just the building lots. You lose it on the whole thing.
yeah.
I think so.
We had that out with, when that was first passed, if whatever, if it's at the parcel the house is on, is the required, well, two and three. That is the 5 years back, not the whole farm.
Okay.
So before we go on to another subject, can I ask something about comments from Jerry? Because he's alluding to the fact that we have a couple more people coming forward, and you had spoken maybe even 2 months ago that you had two people that were, two applications that you thought were going to be coming in,
I have not got any applications yet.
but you were.
They're all waiting for the solar law.
So you know of some people that are waiting for the solar law to make the application. So I need to refine my question. Can you tell us anything about companies that,
They just wanted to know what the solar law was gonna be and the property that they were looking at, or what it was zoned.
is it unfair to ask who that is?
I believe it is, yeah.
Yeah, at this point in time, that's